In my last video about Chille, I mentioned one of his scams is charging for this, what he calls the Trifold, and somehow it's meant to protect your civil rights. But it really doesn't. And let's talk about why it doesn't. And instead of a trifold, it's more of a tri-fail.
YouTube lawyer. Be more funny!
Now, before we get too far into showing you why Chille's wrong and why he's an idiot, I will point out the parts he gets right. And the first one is regarding your right to remain silent. And that is your right protected under the Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution. It recognizes that you don't have to answer questions, whether you're guilty or innocent. Now, specifically, the way this trifold is used, it's meant to generally be used during a traffic stop.
And I'm going to just have my trifold right here. And when he's going to say, where are you heading? Where are you going? What are you doing? I'm going to have my trifold ready to go right here on my Fifth Amendment right.
And yes, if the police officer asks you questions like, where are you going? Where are you coming from? What are you up to? Is there anything in the car? You don't have to answer those. You can exercise your right to remain silent. Now, does Chille's idea of shoving this piece of paper up in the window and not refusing to say anything further a good idea? I would disagree. I would say, I decline to answer that question, officer, or I exercise my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Those make it clear what's going on. So in that case, Chille, you do get a gold star. The second part that Chille gets right is the idea that you should never consent to a search. Under any circumstance, you should never consent to a search. I agree 100% with that. If the police are asking you for permission to search something, it's because they know they don't have the probable cause to search, or they don't have an exception to search. So never, ever, ever help them out. That said, Chille doesn't exactly do this. It does something I think is extremely weird and, well, not weird, fairly stupid compared to his advice.
Pull my window down. I actually open my doors and my windows. Just so you know, I'll hit a couple of buttons. Let me make sure I'm clear. I'll hit a couple of buttons and I open up both of my doors and windows just like that. That's what I do, because I don't want these filthy pigs thinking that I'm trying to smuggle something or I'm trying to hide something. So I often will open my back door, open my side doors, and I've done this lots of times in life. I just haven't been pulled over for you guys to see me do it. But that's what I do. I open them both up.
So you tell people don't consent to a search, but then you go ahead and consent to a search by opening all your doors and all your windows and allowing the police to visually search your car. Yeah, that's never a good idea. Especially if you're a person who thinks that cops are evil Nazis who want to do nothing but throw you in a dungeon. Why would you give them any excuse to plant evidence, mistakenly see something? I mean, Chille, you were doing so good and then you fucked this up. What gives? Part of this trifold also includes topics of using speech against officers. Mainly the idea you can sit there and swear at them and be verbally abusive to them. Now, to a great extent, this is true. You can use language like that. You can use curse words and you can swear at the police. Now, is that going to help you? Is it going to benefit you? That's up to you to decide. Do you have that right? To a certain extent, yes. A further thing I would point out is, if you're ever in a situation you might want a warning instead of a ticket, well, swearing and cursing and acting like a dickhead isn't going to make that happen.
He's already said there's no victim. I wasn't tailgating anyone. He just pulled around, gave me a ticket. Let me sign it. Thanks a lot. Hey, thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
I'm glad we pay taxes for this. You could have pulled me over and said, you know what, you're going too fast. Why are you in a hurry? And I just told you, I'm going to see my dentist.
The biggest problem that Chille creates with this trifold is actually a very common thing for people who haven't been to law school or have a formal training in the law. And that is arguing improper authorities. And what do I mean by that? Well, the idea of taking monopoly money to the casino. It's not going to work. Well, much the same way, if you use a court ruling from one state and try to use it in another, it's not going to work. It's not binding on that state. A great example of this is one of them that Chille uses is the no highway parking. He uses Tech Lines versus Danforth, a 1943 case decided by the Mississippi Supreme Court. Now, that is important because that is binding in the state of Mississippi. That is the law from the highest court available in Mississippi. I'm sure a lot of you understand this, though. A court in Mississippi has no authority over a court, for example, in Ohio, or Texas, or Michigan, or Arizona, or North Dakota, or Massachusetts, or Florida. Yet Chille gives this to people, and they're presumably using it. So what good is arguing a Mississippi court case going to do when you're arguing with a cop in Nevada? I mean, is that cop going to sit there and give you 2 seconds? No, you sound like a dumbass.
You're a real good guy, man. No victims. Oh, shut the fuck up. It's Techline. Hey, fuck yourself, you filthy pig. I can park that car wherever I want. Techline versus Danforth, 1943. I have the legislation in my hand. You don't decide where I can park my car. I have a freedom to travel. You can try that, but I'm a constitutional law scholar. Techline versus Danforth, 1943. I have every right to stop anywhere I want in the United States of America, and if you do it, I will sue your ass personally for malicious prosecution. That's against my rights.
Another case Chille cites, United States versus Bradley. Well, yes, it's a federal court case, and yes, this guy did get a motion to suppress that was granted, and I think there's some really good facts you can look at in there. Occurred in the Federal District Court for the state of Oregon. So it really only covers Oregon. That's it. It doesn't matter wherever else you go. Now, can you argue that in another court and say, hey, these facts might be kind of important, Judge? You might want to consider it? Sure. But there is no binding authority here. No other court has to consider it. So I don't know what this good does for people, especially when you're trying to protect yourself. How does this work? Chille, I'd love for you to explain that. Chille then also includes cases like Turner v. Driver and United States v. Williams from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals for the United States, which covers Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Now, if you live in Texas, Louisiana, and or Mississippi, is this an important case to know? Are the other cases important? Yes. There is some precedent there. But if you live in Alabama, North Dakota, California, Alaska, Hawaii, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Maine, Florida, it's not relevant. It does not apply to you. It is not a holding law. Nothing, it doesn't help you. And once again, to sit there and argue with the police officer, whatever federal case law exists in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, while you happen to be in Florida or Tennessee, isn't going to help you. You're once again trying to use the monopoly money at the casino. It's stupid. It's not going to work. The other area where Chille causes problems is by completely misreading and not really comprehending what case law is actually put in front of him. And a great example of that is Carroll v. United States. He labels it U.S. v. Carroll, but it was actually Carroll v. United States. Now, it did occur in 1925, and it did lead to the automobile exception, which was allowing warrantless searches without satisfying the warrant requirement of the Fourth Amendment. Now, do I agree that the Fourth Amendment has been severely eroded, going back to and starting with this case, and has caused problems for our civil rights? Certainly, and I don't think Chille disagrees with me there. But Chille's understanding and the holding of that case, well, it's completely nonsensical. The police can warrantlessly search your car if they with probable cause, and it's not just meant to protect the loss of life in hot pursuit, or as Chille likes to argue about, the seizure of illegal alcohol. It wasn't about just illegal alcohol, but any contraband. For example, if the police smell marijuana, they're allowed to search your car, and they can find it. So it's not just about liquor, and it's not just about the Plainview Doctrine, or any of the number of things Chille babbles on about.
Hey, Piggy, where's the... Oh, you're going to search your car? Are you searching through a car, or are you going Plainview there? There's a big difference. 1925 Carroll versus 1971 Plainview Doctrine. You know the difference? I'm sure that you don't. You can't be searching someone's car unless you have probable cause. What are the three issues of probable cause with Carroll? What are they? Do you know what they are? Carroll versus United States, 1925. What's the Carroll Doctrine? What's the Carroll Doctrine for the reason why you could search your car? What is it? I didn't think so.
And what I've left for last, well, it's truly the pièce de résistance. If you weren't sure that Chille maybe had just been misguided, or maybe he was a little bit stupid, This is clearly going to show you he's an absolute fucking moron. And I feel like I've done really good. I've really tried not to swear throughout this video, but holy Jesus Christ on a cracker, this is the worst part of it all. I mean, this is just the chef's kiss of legal stupidity from Chille. Commonwealth v. Barr. I'll let Chille explain to you what he thinks Commonwealth v. Barr is about.
Because this is the Commonwealth versus Barr, and that would have been Attorney General Barr.
What?
So this right here, just so you know, when this says Commonwealth versus Barr, that Commonwealth right there, it predates our Constitution and our Bill of Rights.
I don't think that's right, Chille.
That Commonwealth does. So this case supersedes all others. This is the actual case precedent on the books now. This is the case precedent. This is the prevailing case in America right now. Do you see that? Do you see? So you have to understand that. Why did my group of scholars, when I made this trifold, when we sat down together, I talked to a bunch of guys who are super smart. Why did one guy insist that Commonwealth versus Barr go on this trifold?
You know, Chille, I'm just going to spitball here as to why. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say because you and your scholars are dumber than a box of fucking rocks. Here's Commonwealth versus Barr. Now, as you can see, it's the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. So once again, guys, the highest court in Pennsylvania made a ruling affecting the law in Pennsylvania. Not in Ohio, not in Massachusetts, Maine, Florida, Tennessee, Texas, Louisiana, Nevada, or California. Just Pennsylvania. And as you can see, it's the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus Timothy Oliver Barr II. So tighten up on me real quick. Chille, it has nothing to do with the Attorney General of the United States. Once again, you are completely fucking wrong. Now, I do love Chille's argument that somehow because this mentions the term Commonwealth, that this predates the United States Constitution, and somehow this overrides every law in the country. This ain't fucking it, Chief. I mean, really, I want you to come on and talk to me. I'll even come on. You can set up a stream, whatever you want to do. I want you to explain to me how the fuck that makes any sense at all. I mean, my God, man, it's so fucking stupid. I mean, not even a first-year law school student would think of this. I'm not sure somebody who spends more than 5 minutes thinking about things and read a book on federalism would think about this. I mean, maybe like an 8th grader would think about dumb shit like this. Although it does sound like you have like an 8th grade comprehension of things. I mean, this really does reek of somebody who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing and just reads random shit off the internet.
I don't have any more education than anybody here. I have a education from Google and YouTube. I don't know anything more than anybody else. I just know what I learned online, and then I connected the dots of all those different things.
I mean, come on, Chille. This is the best you can do after 20 years of just stumbling through the internet? I mean, God, at some point you should have been able to get this all right. I mean, fuck. It's so stupid. I mean, just taking the time to do this, I feel like I'm just festering a tumor inside of my skull. Just because of Chille and his stupidity. Oh. But it's the things I do for you guys because I care about you so, so much. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you to rely on this shit. So that's it for today, guys. Please like, share, subscribe if this was at all interesting or entertaining to you. I don't people calling me out to ask me, well, how can I prove that he's wrong? Well, this is really fucking bad. I mean, this whole thing is awful. But especially this final case he likes to cite, Commonwealth versus Barr. This is just, it's fucking atrocious. And yes, like I said, if this ever gets to Chille, tell him. I think he's a fucking moron, and I'd love for him to prove me wrong on some of this stuff. I really would. I know he can't, so that's why I'm calling him out. So remember, guys, until next time, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty.